After what seems like months of wet and windy weather, is everything finally settling down? How warm could it get this weekend? And the biggie, is there any hint of a whiff of anything white for the festive season? We'll try and answer all of those questions in this week's Met Office Deep Dive. Welcome along. My name's Alex Deakin. I'm a meteorologist here at the Met Office. This is coming to you from Met Office headquarters in Exeter in Devon. And the deep dive is exclusive to YouTube. So do hit subscribe and then you'll never miss a forecast, but you'll also never miss a deep dive. This is where we look at some of the more interesting facets of our weather over the next few days or even weeks. It'll be, 20, 25 minutes, something like that. Welcome along if you've not seen it before. If you've seen it before, then you know the drill. I thank you very much for your comments at this point, but honestly, we really do love all of your comments, so please do keep them coming in. We do read them all, try and reply to some of them as well. So do keep those comments coming in. We do very much appreciate those. And please hit the like button, hit that heart, thumbs up, and yes, that would do us a big favour too. And share the love. Let other people know about the Met Office Deep Dive. We love expanding our audience. Got any comments? Got any questions? Got any suggestions for the deep dive? Particularly as we go into a new year, what we'd like to see, then again, put those in the comments because, as I say, we do read them. Okay, let's get into it because, as always, there's plenty to talk about. We'll start with the bigger picture, the view from space. You can see swirls have been barreling their way across the UK. Low pressure systems. A couple of them were actually storms named by Met Éireann, the Weather Service in the Republic of Ireland. We had Storm Elin and Storm Fergus over the course of the weekend. They have since drifted away, but we do have another area of low pressure still dominating our weather at time of recording on Tuesday. You can see these swirls just moving in quite nicely. But what I really want to draw your attention to is this line on the satellite image. As we go back even to the weekend, that was in place across Iberia, northern Spain, northern Portugal, into southern parts of France. So this line is actually telling us almost exactly where the jet stream is. This is cirrus generated high up in the sky by the jet stream. It's cirrus generated by the jet stream, and that's basically showing us where the jet stream is, and as a result it's been pushing those low pressure systems that we've seen our way. Let's though take a closer look at what's going on at the moment, because as I said, we've got low pressure sitting over us. We've seen a band of rain moving in overnight, the bright colours there, some pretty heavy rain. We've had a couple of yellow warnings that's been pivoting around. That weather front's been moving through, but down to the south we've seen some very lively showers. Some very pokey showers indeed over the past 12 hours through the course of Tuesday morning. These showers behind this weather front have been moving in, and we've seen some lively downpours across Wales, but also across southern parts of England, and quite a few thunderstorms as well. Let's put the lightning on, and we can just zoom into those. For Tuesday morning, we have to fast forward because we've got 5 days worth. There weren't many thunderstorms over the course of the weekend, but over the past 12 hours or so, just across the south there, notice how the lightning flashes start across the sea, but then we saw a batch of them just there towards the end across the southeast of England, across, what is that, Kent-Sussex border, is it? Yeah, just in there. Blink and you miss it. But some lively thunderstorms, you probably noticed those if you were under them earlier on today. So we've seen some heavy showers. We've seen a lot of wet weather through recent weeks, actually, all because of low pressure. But let's just, again, come back to the here and now on the bigger picture. Just pause it there, however. So we've got the jet stream in here, and you can see that swirl there. That's low pressure. And if we just flip it straight away, you can see that. That's the pressure, and there's the jet stream. So they're in almost exactly the same spot. That low pressure system being pushed along by the jet stream. But a big, big change. So this is the setup for time of recording for Tuesday. Low pressure sitting slap bang over us. The jet stream to the south of us. Fast forward 24 hours, the jet stream's getting messy. That low pressure system is exiting away. Fast forward another 24 hours. Notice a trend here. Where's the jet going? It's shifting northwards, and that continues through Friday. And by the time we get to Saturday, the transition is complete. A complete switch around. We've now got high pressure sitting just to the south of the UK, and the jet has moved way up to the north. So we've gone from a south shifted jet to a north shifted jet through the second half of this week, and that is going to bring a dramatic change. We say goodbye to the low pressure systems, we say goodbye to the spells of wet weather, and we say hello high pressure and hello dry weather. And for most of us it is going to be a lot drier really from Thursday onwards because of that switch around. Now, not completely in the next 24 hours. We do still have low pressure system just steadily clearing away. So I haven't quite said goodbye to all of the heavy rain. Let's zoom in a little bit on that actually. Because the low is only slowly pulling away as we go through. Let's take the jet off, don't need that anymore. So the low is gradually edging away as we go through the next 24 hours. But it's still going to be around. Let's take a closer look actually, put the pressure on that. And fast forward to tomorrow. Rewind a little bit. So there's the low. This is tomorrow. So you can see with the low pressure system in here, it is heading that way, but with the winds going around the low pressure anti-clockwise, it's still drawing in quite a brisk breeze down this eastern side, and that is also going to generate a lot of cloud and quite a few showers. So many places still waking up tomorrow to cloud and some outbreaks of rain. And down this eastern side, it's going to take most of the day before that low finally pulls away and these winds start to ease. So eastern England especially, so East Yorkshire, Lincolnshire, East Anglia and the southeast, still having a pretty drab day tomorrow with outbreaks of rain, but elsewhere we'll see the brighter skies and some sunshine. Now there is a weather front just toppling into the northwest, you'll have noticed as well, so that is also moving in Wednesday night and into Thursday. Zoom out a little bit on that, but that's starting now to bump up against the high pressure, so it will bring some rain in, but it will also kind of fizzle out as it bumps up against the area of high pressure. And then from then onwards really, it's really from Friday onwards that we're under the influence of the high pressure to the south of the UK, and that is going to bring many places a lot of dry weather. But notice it's still quite windy. Notice there are still some brisk winds. The isobars, even though it's high pressure down here, it is to the south of the UK, still a lot of isobars on the chart. So still quite windy in here, still some brisk winds. Let's put those winds on. That will have an impact to make it feel cooler. But with this area of high pressure actually drawing the winds up from the southwest, it is drawing up warmer air. And we can put the air mass on now and show you that. So again, if we rewind back to where we are, it's a bit of a mishmash with the low pressure in at the moment. But fast forward the next few days, those weather fronts try and introduce something a bit cooler. But as the high builds in Thursday and Friday, it is bringing with it that warmer air from the southwest, almost up from the tropics. Let's play through that again, that warmer air. Oh, there it goes, right across the UK as we go into the weekend. So it is going to get quite a bit milder as we go through the weekend. By day, you may not notice it, particularly if you've been in the south where it hasn't actually been that cold over recent days, but we will notice it at night in particular. Now, two things happening here. We are seeing that warmer air come up from the southwest, but notice, as I said, it is still quite windy across the north, and that is going to have an impact, quite a brisk wind coming in here across northwestern areas, and that is key for generating even higher temperatures across parts of Scotland in particular. Let's have a look, see how high we're going to get with these temperatures. I'm going to put a graph, some graphs now of the minimum temperatures over the next few days. And this is looking at eastern Scotland. So if we come down to the south here, notice actually the minimum temperatures for the next few days will get a little colder through the middle of the week before it gets a little bit milder again. That's because we'll start to see clearer skies, because cloud cover is quite important across the south. So actually, so the south, you'll see a dip in temperatures midweek before it gets milder. But if we just look at particularly eastern Scotland here, northeastern parts of Scotland, the far northeast of Scotland, Caithness, southern. Look at these are the minimum temperatures. So Wednesday morning, 1.2, could well be a touch of frost across Scotland. By the time we get into the weekend, these are the minimum temperatures, 9.6 Celsius, well above the average maximum for northern Scotland at this time of year. So we could easily be seeing temperatures staying in double figures across parts of Scotland into the weekend overnight. That is pretty unusual, fairly exceptional, and that's because of something called the Föhn effect. So the strong winds are also impacting on these temperatures, as we will see shortly. How unusual is that? Well, I've got a chart to show you that, in fact. As things get milder, you'll notice the daytime temperatures getting higher as well. So we're talking temperatures in the mid-teens in places, perhaps even a little higher than that in one or two spots. But I think it'll be the nighttime temperatures that we notice the most. Now, This is something called the extreme temperature, or the extreme index from the European model, ECMWF, from when we run the model many times, and it compares the ensemble, when you run the model many times, to the average for that particular place and that particular time of year. Now, the orange colours in here are representing, on the index, darker orange colour, anything above 0.8. Now, anything above 0.5, anything yellow is basically unusual, but anything orange would be classed as extreme. These are the averages for this time of year. These are averaged over the whole day, and we're looking there at between 5 and 15 degrees generally across the UK. But this is indicating the extremes. I'm going to zoom in on that because we've got a closer map here. You can see, there you go, that's better, thanks Steve. So, the UK, the southern half of the UK, not coloured in there, so it's not unusual for the southern half of the UK, the temperatures we're going to see. But across from really what Northern Ireland, Northern England, those orange colours and even some reds in there indicating extreme index could be 0.8 or above. So extreme temperatures are likely in this part of the world as we go through. This is Friday into Sunday. So that's how unusual. It's almost plotting where the most unusual weather is. And you can do that on the ECMWF, not just for temperature, but things like rainfall as well. So that's a really useful guide telling us how unusual it could be through the course of this weekend. The record minimum temperature for Scotland in December is 12.5. That's been recorded a couple of times. Back in '94, there was a really warm spell, and that's when the UK record was set. That was recorded in Wales, and that was 15 degrees as a minima. That was in Wales in '94. Unlikely to break that, but there is a reasonable chance we're going to get very close to that Scotland record for December of 12.5 Celsius. As I say, we picked up some there likely to stay in double figures, but that a few locations could stay above that 12.5, which is a December record. The other records for the UK or for the nations, 13.7 is the England record, 14.3 is the Northern Ireland record. That was also set in '94. They're unlikely to be broken, but that, as I say, that Scotland record is something to watch as we go through the weekend, those nighttime minima. The daytime records also, possibly under threat, but that depends on a lot of things coming together. So seems unlikely at the moment. The more likely record we would break would be that nighttime temperature one. So yes, some very mild weather heading our way through the weekend. A lot of dry weather as well. Not necessarily going to be gloriously sunny, however. Again, as we go through the forecast, Friday, again, we don't really need the jet stream again. With this high pressure, it's not completely, it's down to the south. It's not sitting right over the UK. High pressure is where the air is descending. So you're still going to get a feed of moisture in from here. So it could still stay fairly cloudy. So I'm not promising sunny skies and gorgeous winter sunshine through Friday and the weekend. There'll be some bright weather around. But the key thing is certainly across a good part of the UK, it's going to be a lot drier than it has been, but still quite breezy with those strong winds up to the northwest. What happens after that? Well, every chance that this high may well actually stick around as we go through the weekend, Sunday, and even into Monday. It does show signs of weakening a little bit, but most of the models are signalling that high pressure is going to be at or close to the south of the UK. There's a weather front toppling in, which will actually reduce those temperatures by night across northern Scotland as that weather front comes in at some point through the early part of next week, maybe through Sunday night. So those warmer nights in Scotland probably won't last all that long, but it is going to stay dominated by high pressure. And the most likely setup, certainly for the first half of next week, is something like this. Now, this is showing the pressure anomaly. Those reds are not temperature, it's pressure anomaly, so how much higher or lower pressure is compared to average. But higher than usual pressure set to dominate across the south through well into the middle part of next week, with lower than average pressure just to the north of the UK. And with that setup, it basically means more of the same. So westerly winds, northwestern Scotland will see showery rain at times, but a lot of the UK will have a lot drier weather, likely to continue well into next week, certainly Monday, Tuesday. Then around the middle of next week, we could start to see a shift. Quite a bit of uncertainty, as you'd expect. This is over a week away, but the general weather pattern is going to keep high pressure somewhere to the south or southwest of the UK. But if that high starts to shrink away, that does allow the potential for something a little chillier to come in from the northwest. And that is actually the most likely setup from midweek of next week as we go in. And I've been working with Nick Silkston, one of our Deputy Chief Meteorologist, who is a remarkably clever guy, and he's been looking at the potential weather regimes as we go through next week and up towards the Christmas weekend, of course. And the most likely scenario is this one here, certainly for the for the middle part of next week, rather, for the Wednesday, Thursday session of next week. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, a part of next week. The high pressure may well start to topple. We've still got the jet stream up here, but the high pressure edges away to the southwest, and that just opens the door for something of a colder spell, some cooler air coming in from the northwest. I'll just zoom in on that one a little bit as well. So this is the most likely regime for the middle part of next week. The high edges away, and we see something colder coming in from the northwest. Now that's not particularly cold, it just means a northwesterly wind is more likely. And as we say here in the text, it means that periods of northwesterly winds become more likely through the second half of next week. That does mean the temperatures will drop off and we'll see something a little bit colder, which in December does open the door for something a bit wintry, but snow likely to be mostly over hills, but the potential for some snow and ice in this scenario. That's for the middle to latter part of next week. Then, as we go into the Christmas weekend, these two scenarios become kind of equally likely, and this one is where the high builds back in. That middle one is like we'll see for most of next week, with the high pressure closer to the southwest, the jet stream toppling back in, and that cutting off, if you like, cuts off the colder air, and we see a return to milder weather. As I say, these two scenarios, both seen as equally likely as we go towards the Christmas weekend. Another potential possible scenario or regime is that it all shifts back further to the west. Again, I'll show you in the closer up one. It all actually shifts to the west. The high shifts west. There is a colder northwesterly, but that also shifts. And we see we're on the other side of it again and get something a little warmer coming back up across the UK, as we see on the other side of that trough. So they're the most likely three regimes or scenarios as we head towards the Christmas weekend. This one does suggest something a little bit colder, but notice even in this scenario, it's not a northerly, it's not a northeasterly setup. It's just a kind of northwesterly with a few showers, bringing some winteriness over the hills, potentially perhaps at lower levels. But obviously that's something we'll be keeping a very close eye on as we get towards the Christmas period, and we'll have more on all of that in the 10-day trend, which Annie will be doing tomorrow. Annie Shuttleworth doing the 10-day trend tomorrow. So another reason to hit subscribe, and then you won't miss that when we put that out through Wednesday afternoon. And obviously, as we run up towards Christmas and lots of travel plans, we'll be keeping you posted on all the potential weather. And for those day-to-day details, and if you really are desperate for snow, then you need to kind of tune in this time next week, because it's just too early to say with any kind of detail. As I say, these are just the potential scenarios that could happen, but locating rain or specific weather on any day, it's just too early to say at this stage. So make sure you, again, hit subscribe, and then you'll see all of our forecasts in the run-up to Christmas. But I thought I'd touch on, you know, it is that time of year. People are getting very excited about a white Christmas. So what is even the definition of a white Christmas? Because a lot of people don't really know. Lots of people think a white Christmas is, you know, deep and crisp and even, a foot of snow outside their front door. But that's not the meteorological definition of a white Christmas. The meteorological definition of a white Christmas is just one measly flake of snow. If you see one flake of snow, it could be mixed in with some sleet between midnight, Christmas Eve into Christmas Day, and the end of Christmas Day into Boxing Day, between midnight and midnight, if you see one flake of snow, you can say that you have had a white Christmas. That is the Met Office definition. And by that definition, actually, most Christmases somewhere in the UK are white. Some place in the UK, more than 50% of the time since 1960 has recorded a white Christmas by that simple definition of one flake of snow, because, you know, seeing flakes of snow across the mountains of Scotland in late December is not that unusual. Typically, if you compare December to January, then December is a lot less snowy. February, also quite a lot snowier than December. March, even, you are more likely across the whole month of March to see snow than you are in December. But of course, that's skewing it a little bit because Christmas comes towards the back end of December. So it's a bit of a myth about that, more likely to see snow at Easter than you are at Christmas. But technically, you are more likely to see snow in March than you are in December. But for a white Christmas, you just need one flake of snow. And I say by that definition, I think since 1960, somewhere in the UK has recorded a white Christmas more than 50% of the time. So you are more likely to have a white Christmas somewhere in the UK. But for that kind of general impression of a white Christmas, widespread lying snow, now that is rare. Only 4 times since 1960 have we recorded widespread lying snow, and by widespread I mean by more than 40% of our observing network have recorded lying snow since 1960. So I say white Christmases where the snow is lying everywhere are pretty rare. Last one of those was 2010. Who remembers that? Put it in the comments if you remember 2010 and the white Christmas. But there have been white Christmases since, but only, I say, by that definition of just seeing one flake of snow. If you are a snowmantic, then, as I say, please do keep up to date with all of the latest forecasts from the Met Office. Please do keep all your comments coming in as well. There will be another deep dive next week. So, again, we'll have more on the chances of a white Christmas and the weather generally in the run-up to the Christmas period. Hit subscribe, hit like, and as I said, please do share this with people who are into weather. Thanks for watching. See you soon.